it's a situation that's very easily, can destabilize me as a single mom.
Right.
Technically still.
Well, the fact that the court systems nationwide are charging parents extravagant amounts of money to be able to see their children fuck right off. Like, fuck right off. I
Yeah.
mean, that is disgusting. And every single court that does that you can't do that. Real life stories to bring awareness to domestic violence, human trafficking, and systemic corruption. Welcome to our podcasts and lives. We are so happy that you joined us and hope that you like and follow us, and would love for you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Our videos are for information purposes only, and any accusations are alleged unless found guilty in a court of law. Let the show begin. Okay, I think we're good to go. Are you ready?
Sure.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. On this episode, I have Nicole here with me from New York, correct?
Massachusetts.
Oh, boy. I lived up in that area. This is about to get interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing your story. Bittersweet. I'm sure it will be hard to listen to, but it's so important that we get this out there and make people aware of what's really happening so that we can try to create some change.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish, my experiences were a bit different and that I could have a bit more faith in what was introduced as the supports around me. But I'm always open to learning more about what's going on as far as, other survivors of these situations and what I can do, to pay it forward going forward. But like right now, I'm in the midst of just trying to process my situation and carry forward myself.
Yes, it's a healing process. When you go through it, you have the trauma of the abuse itself. And then when you are finally strong enough to break free from that, and then you have to be re-traumatized all over again by the system that was put in place to help. Like, it is literally their job to help us. And not only do they refuse to help, they cause so much more damage to where it just leaves us absolutely dumbfounded. And, that's it. That's our lifeline. That's our helpline. So when we don't have that lifeline and that helpline, what are our options?
Right. And that's where I've just been like, what do I do? Because I work as a community resource specialist at a local agency. And sometimes I come across these situations with elders or different people, and we have the standard places that we offer. Give a call to here, I'll put in a referral here. But going through it myself, it's just a totally different animal.
You realize really quickly how ineffective so much of these things really truly are.
Yeah. And definitely it's been a traumatizing experience. It's definitely been very scary. Re-traumatizing is all I can say. It's just been to where like I can't catch my breath. And like I'm like, all right, what else can I do? And every day I'm like pulling straws, like what else can I do? I'm coming up with new creative ways to try and be heard, and like I'm absolutely not being heard whatsoever. I kind of work in this field. I'm not a, clinician. I'm not a case manager or anything of that nature, but my background is more in like community health and like public health and prevention. And I've been like researching over the years from kind of this, outside perspective of like, okay, I'm just looking at this from a very academic side to I'm thrown in it. And holy crap.
Yeah.
This is not at all what I thought it was.
A whole new world.
Yeah, it's not what I thought it was. It's not what we're often told to recommend to others when we're just, holding people's hands through their situations. So, rude awakening, certainly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, there's so many different aspects to the whole situation, like especially, with domestic violence.
Hmm.
When you take a look at domestic violence as a whole, there are so many different things that are involved with it that
Yeah.
stem from it. And it's like a big spider web that is
Right.
just, it's all consuming. And they
Right.
put you in these situations to where, I mean, Lord knows how many years you deal with the abuse. And then the court systems draw this out for another Lord knows how many years. I mean, my
Yeah.
situation, it was almost a 4-year court battle. I mean, that's
Wow.
4 years is a lot of time when you're being re-traumatized and
Yeah.
re-victimized to where your life is just all consumed by this torture. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a long time to try to go through those motions just to try to get help. And then when they're, oh, well, here, get a guardian ad litem, or here, get an advocate, or here, go here and do this. And none of those people are truly helping. I have found that a lot of these places are just as corrupt, if not worse, and actually a part of the problem. So
Yeah.
then what?
Yeah, yeah. And that's exactly the situation that's unfolding in my life at this time. I had court on this past Friday, it's Monday, and I left crying, shaking. I won't be able to get a trial to, get my daughter back from my ex-husband for another year and a half at all. They told me, the end of 2025, but I just was crying and I had to walk out of the room just because there were more immediate problems that need to be addressed. And I haven't been heard for 6 years. I left my ex-husband 6 to 7 years ago. We agreed to separate. We agreed that I would leave. I was working on transitioning from being a stay-at-home mother to just going back into, leaving the marital home and starting from scratch without a bank account, without a job. And the only thing that was carrying me through, which was the lucky part, is that I was hit by a car, or I had a pretty bad car accident
Goodness.
with my car. I was going to pick up some Halloween supplies for my daughter's preschool Halloween party, and that's the sequence of events of I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't stay anymore. I'm living this whole fake life. We look like the power couple. We look amazing. Two educated folks went to the same university, and everybody thinks it's a great relationship, including my mother, who used to work as a domestic violence counselor. She did not see it. So I come from like a very small family, and there wasn't much family support. But yeah, my mom definitely missed the signs. And before she passed, I got kind of an apology that she didn't see earlier what was going on, because it was a relationship I started at 19 with him. He was the, boy in the dorm next door. But it was a situation where I was set up and I was raped in a public space, and there was people watching, and I was intoxicated. And it was my very first drinking experience in college. Thereafter, it was all my ex-husband's friends and I believe himself that was watching. And then thereafter, he came into the picture as kind of a protector. And my grades went up, and it was my sophomore year and he was a senior, and like he just enveloped me, and I thought it was protection, but then it didn't feel good. Next thing you know, he's like breaking down my self-esteem. And you're not good enough. You're not like dressed sexy enough for me to want to touch you. Or so at the time I was like, I told him I wanted to leave. And, the first big red flag was I'm driving us both off the road and we're both going to die. And like, I'm going off this thing. And so I'm like, oh, no, no, no. And that was red flag number one for how he looked. He comes from a great family, has a lot of support. And my mom was like, well, this is a, good, solid guy to be with. And I'm like, Mom, really feel like that is accurate. And she's like, well, you haven't grown up with a lot of family. You wouldn't know like family dynamics and stuff like that. And like, I'm like, no. But when I needed to, like, she was like, oh no, you're good over there. And she didn't really give me a space to come home to. And that was kind of our little thing, like towards the end of her life, where she was like, do you hate me? And I'm like, it's not that I hate you. I just wish you saw what was actually going on, because it became later on, oh, your mom can't come over. She's forbidden, and his mom was forbidden, from coming to the house after I had, our child. We have a now 9-year-old little girl, which is currently living with him. We've been dealing with parental alienation since the beginning of my daughter being a toddler. He would come home and pretty much just kind of, she was made to like not respect my authority, but I'm expected to be the stay-at-home parent every day. So the conversation started to be like that. Then it was definitely a coercive control relationship. And actually, my PCP pointed that out to me. My primary care doctor slipped me a book, because when I was being treated for the auto accident, that spurred me wanting, like, I can't do this anymore. I have to leave. She slipped that book to me and was educating me as to what coercive control is. My nature is to be very compliant. He only had to like punch a wall or put me in a few holds a few times for me to be scared and to follow. He's also the type that will repeat things until you just like, okay, like you comply. That's the relationship that I was finally free of. But this court this past Friday was for a review hearing regarding his temporary custody of our daughter. And it just seems like it's going to be a really long road, because he has a lot of connections. His family, he has a huge family. I don't have anybody left. I just happen to have, like, all my parents have died. My siblings are far away. Like, I don't have anybody in the area anymore. So the situation being is they have connections in the local Department of Children and Families. And I had been alerting him as to, hey, the effects of the alienation are hitting our daughter. And she's living in so much anxiety and somatic pain. Every day she was like, my head and my stomach hurt. She's on the floor. She went from completely capable to, Mom, I don't know how to be a kid anymore. Like, I don't know what to do anymore. She started throwing up face down in bed. It's been actually trauma of the past 2 years. And it started with me being pregnant with another child that wasn't his, starting a new family. He backed off. So my daughter is going through like an identity crisis, because she was told since she was 4 years old, don't listen to mom. She doesn't make good decisions. Only your dad was there for you. And I had to create a photo album to prove to her, like, baby girl, you were with me every day. Like, we did play groups. We did this. We did that. We did this. We did that. And so literally there's been brainwashing going on. And she's like, oh, okay, I was there with you. And I have to like convince her, like, don't you remember? Like, we were together every day.
That is so dangerous that he's doing that to her.
Yeah. So fast forward, she's 9 years old now. And now, she was so excited for her baby brother to come along, and dad completely backs off. He gets a court order to give me sole custody. And when that happens, he refuses to participate in all school. He sabotages all of her extracurriculars, like just everything. And all of a sudden, my daughter says she's seeing and hearing things. All of a sudden, the devil's telling her to open the door as we get onto the highway. This, like, she wanted to kill herself. She had, this and that. And then, a few months later, she's diagnosed at 9 years old with manic depression, OCD of seeing me being killed all day long, and ADHD. So it got to the point where I told her to, put a dish in the sink, and she wanted to kill herself. And I reached out to the court to get another order to, she was begging me no longer to go over her dad's. She was saying that it was making her worse and that she has secrets with dad. So I filed another order to have it modified. I already had sole custody. I filed another order, but it didn't go through because I didn't have the $50 fee to file file it. And by then, I had already had to contact crisis with regards to my daughter's attempt to suicide because I told her to put her dish in the sink. She had an intensive care coordination team through a local crisis agency. She had a therapist. We were just being screened for in-home therapy. We worked on an IEP/504 because she has severe enough anxiety that they were calling me, and they had like a calm down space for her. They also gave her like sound blocking headphones, but it's a complicated case. And I had been, I set up services for over 2 years and my health crashes. I'm under so much stress, like my autoimmune kicks in. I lost another baby. My body's not like refusing to stop bleeding. I'm coming up with I'm just sick. But my daughter is in like psychosis because dad is pretty much, she told me dad was unparenting her. So everything that like are normal things, oh, you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. And there's some other aspect because my daughter kept leaving me cryptic notes about mom doesn't know everything that's going on. The notes were pretty disturbing and I put them aside because I'm like, all right, I just want to find a solution. I just want to I'm going to tell the therapist. At that point, people were unsure of whether to believe me. And I'm like, I just need a little bit of break. Because right now I can't figure out what's going on with her and she's screaming every night in psychosis from the time I pick her up from after school till bedtime. Some of it I think was some sensory issues. Some of it I think she had some sensory processing issues. Some of it I think was attention seeking. And some of it was this valid, I'm confused, I don't know what to do. So there's a lot to my situation that was very complicated of me trying to seek support, especially for my child. And honestly, I couldn't have been broken down if my child wasn't in that state. He taught her the techniques that he used to use to abuse me. And that was a major trigger. So I was waking up in anxiety attacks. I started to have PTSD and was recently diagnosed with PTSD. But we were apart. He only saw her every once a month, bi-weekly, only on Saturday and Sunday. So there's been so much havoc that has happened. And my daughter's caught in the middle of this mental battle. And the situation escalated and is literally, I'd go to work shaking because my nervous system is overloaded and because my health started failing with my autoimmune condition, which he's very well aware of. So mine is very intricate in that, the mental aspects, I'm still trying to pull them apart. And now we have DCF involved, but he got ahead of DCF and the initial report of me trying to ask for help because I was told that I could do voluntary DCF. My initial report of asking for help is completely garbled and reflects nothing that I told them was going on with my daughter. So 2 months in, I have no updates on my daughter. I have no updates on what is alleged. I have no updates on anything. And I guess they're alleging neglect, but they came into my home and said my home is full of food. My kids are well provisioned for. There was never any bruises found on my children, anything of that nature.
Yeah, they have to be able to articulate that. And there has to be solid evidence. They can't just remove your child from your care. There has to be significant evidence that your child is in imminent danger.
Yeah. So the situation was that we were getting in-home therapy. We had just gotten off a whole bunch of wait lists. I had an IEP meeting. The child psychologist felt that my daughter's situation was very complicated and we're going to have quote unquote problems for a very long time because her thought processes are maladaptive, even though she excels academically and is a very sweet girl in school. Then the ICC worker felt that she was just attention seeking. And then her therapist was working with me on possible autistic masking. From everywhere, everybody is telling me a million different things, and it was confusing. And what was happening was she was going into what I would call a psychosis, but then be able to snap out of it. And then writing notes of mommy doesn't really know what's going on.
Now, I can totally cut this out if it's something that's, not applicable or no way. Is it possible that he's sexually abusing her?
Who?
Dad.
I don't know. From what I know is I asked her and she said no. But then again, she wouldn't, she's not allowed to talk about me or her baby brother at her dad's home. She's now not allowed to talk to anybody that was my friend or any of the neighbors of the marital home. I encouraged her to speak with her therapist. The week that everything happened, she ran into a metal post Tuesday. By Wednesday, the school called me because she had a urine accident at 9 years old. She never has had that before. And so I had been, trying to get to and telling my daughter's therapist, hey, my daughter's saying she's keeping secrets with dad. Can you get down to the bottom of it? And it was ignored.
Wow.
So I'm trying to, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on.
Well,
I don't.
whatever trauma it is, like every single sign that she's exhibiting screams either physical or sexual abuse. More
Yeah.
so sexual, especially with like, because my daughter, I swear to God, your story is like literally almost verbatim
Yeah.
every single thing that my daughter and I have went through. And she just finally last summer came forward that yes, he did sexually abuse her, and she was, having hallucinations because she was being forced to speak to him still. And I mean, it was very traumatic and very scary. And I as well we're working with Ohio Rise and this program and that program, and she's in counseling and she's on meds, and verbatim everything
Yeah.
that you're doing, I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
And her behaviors are very, very similar. So maybe talk to the counselor again and maybe approach that issue again, be like, look, these are the
Well,
symptoms and the signs.
Well, dad, he ended up getting temporary custody. I reached out. I thought there was help through my daughter's intensive care coordination. And they're the ones that I was like, okay, I just need a few days respite for my body to like heal from the loss of the pregnancy and what's going on. Like literally, I'm overwhelmed and I need a few days. Like come to find out it no longer exists after COVID, voluntary DCF. And like my daughter's therapist was talking us out of it. What ended up happening is that she went into psychosis, and then I gave her a slap to snap her out of it. It scared me. It scared the crap out of me. And I called her ICC worker. I said, I think it'll be best if she goes to her dad for like a few days or something like that. Just because I had a deep misunderstanding, apparently, of the services and what she was saying that I could tap into for help, because it became beyond my scope with the psychosis. So that happened. I apologized to my daughter. I told her it's not right for anybody to slap you or anything of that nature. I needed a little break because literally I'm going to work shaking. I just started a new job. Funny thing is, I walk into the new job and my ex-husband works there. We're working at the same place. And this is like the first job I've been able to get in the state of Mass since being a stay-at-home mom. I worked as a background checker for like a company in Florida for a bit. And I tried to start my own company. And those things kind of just fell underneath because like I had a business partner die. Both of my business partners happened to die. And so it's just been a little bit of a funky period. And so that's what was the initiating event. But what I didn't realize is that he had contacted his friends and they went to visit him first. And they went by his narrative first. And they wrote hilarious in a sick way of like, oh, no, mother states that she couldn't survive without her ex-husband. Meanwhile, I'm telling them I got out of this situation because he attacked me with his mother and assaulted me. And that was like how I went to file divorce on this particular day, even though we had a separation agreement and we wanted to go to mediation. He had attacked me with his mother and she assaulted me. But nobody's hearing that in DCF. The DCF worker is legit carrying on his smear campaign to the point where she told my daughter's school and my daughter's former therapist that he fired. He cut off all of her 2 years of mental health services that I put together. He cut off all of it in a way to silence her. And he labeled me, oh, I've been worrying about her mental health. Oh, my daughter told me that she was brainwashing her. My daughter came to me a few days before and asked me, Mommy, what is brainwashing? I said, why is that?
Oh, wow.
Oh, my dad and his girlfriend said that you're brainwashing me. She still doesn't really know what that means. She's 9 years old. Like, we're thinking Hello Kitty, we're thinking, all these other things, but she's like just caught up in a complicated situation in the middle. She can't understand the same things that she was expressing, that she was saying she was feeling, the being ignored and like trying to get his attention and the this, the that, the different things that she was saying that when she was coming home from those visits. I felt exactly how she felt before. But the other day, the DCF worker came into my home and said, "Oh, and you believed your daughter?" Yes, I did. Because I've actually seen things happen to her and I've actually lived through this myself. So the girlfriend is now coming up with a narrative that my daughter is manipulative and also jealous of her.
Now, kids can be very manipulative. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. My 10-year-old manipulates the crap out of me
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
a regular basis. And she also has a lot of problems with being honest and
Mhm.
lying about different things. That's actually a symptom of one, not only ADHD, but
Mhm.
sexual abuse or any kind of childhood trauma that's
Yep.
indicative of that. However, that being said, when it comes to more serious things like accusations of abuse and things of that nature, generally speaking, children don't lie and they
Yeah.
don't just make up extravagant things. Now, again, that being said, there's been times where she's, angry and, oh, I'm going to say such and such, and I'm going to say such and such, which, whatever, rock on with your bad self, girlfriend, But when it comes down to it with an actual issue and speaking about specific events that occurred on specific dates and times, whatever the case may be, victims just don't lie about
Yeah.
things like that. They just don't.
The other thing is she's been like reporting out between households. The nature of me and her dad's relationship when I last lived with them was like I was totally a subordinate. I didn't sleep in the same room with him. If I didn't make it to bed, I wasn't allowed to come in the room. Pretty much he had a curriculum that he wanted me to follow with her during her preschool years, and I needed to make sure I hit the markers and made sure that food was ready and different things were ready in the home. Every day I kind of did a report out after my daughter went to bed. I'm so used to that. Like I'm still trained to do that. And
It's a
she does
lot of
the
habits
same.
to break. It took a long time to get you there. It's going to take
Yeah.
a long time to get you out of it, too.
And I haven't been able to find anybody trauma informed. I haven't been able to, like, the domestic violence agencies, there's two that I've reached out to. One help paid for my divorce lawyer. The other one just never was responsive to me. And then I've reached out to them again. I spoke with somebody and they're like, okay, I'm going to consult my supervisor on your situation. They never called back. I finally call them back and then they're like, oh, none of your situation is recorded in the system. Like, I don't know who you talked to. And then they steered me in a different path for like housing resources and some other stuff. I just haven't been able to find appropriate help or anybody that is understanding of like the psychological type of programming that me and my daughter have.
Absolutely. Now, I have heard a lot of really great things about EMDR therapy. I don't know if you've heard about that. I know that's really popular, like with folks that, came back from overseas and who had severe trauma and such. And they have found that it's working wonders with survivors of all different types of, PTSD, regardless of what's happening. So, don't know if you've heard about that, but maybe that's something to look at.
I have. Funny story. A few months ago when all of this happened and I called for help and then DCF was like, okay, she's going to go with dad. And I'm like, okay, I need this break. They required a plan of like a temporary agreement. And they told me that I should go to mental health respite place just to have like a break from home. And then I asked, is this required? She said, yes, in order to get your kids back. We want to see that you're getting mental health treatment. And I'm like, well, mainly my physical health has been an issue. And I didn't catch on until later until I had the DCF record, that dad's narrative is that I've been having mental health issues for a while. I was brainwashing my daughter. And so my daughter is brainwashed to say that she's depressed because she misses him. And nobody saw her act out, so it wasn't real. I was making it up because I thought he posed at court that perhaps she thinks she's going to get money for getting an IEP for our daughter. or this or that, or saying having our daughter say that she's depressed. Just ridiculousness.
Manipulative narcissism.
Yeah, very much. The judge kind of just was like, but it just seems like everything's still kind of going his way because no matter what, I cannot voice what my daughter is saying. I've tried to reach out for law help, and the local lawyers was like, well, can you prove it? And they're like, first off, your situation is too complicated. And second off, you probably can't afford me. You can't afford us because our retainer alone is $5,000 and we charge $350 an hour. So you can't afford us, but you're coming across as paranoid. Can you prove it? And I'm like, I can prove everything. I literally have a 3-inch binder of evidence of everything, validating everything that I've reported, but is not at all reflected in DCF record. They wrote something completely different, that I had believed my daughter was possessed because I used the words, she was grunting, kind of like in the Exorcist, grunting and screaming and grunting like that. Because I'm not a clinician and I didn't use the word she was in psychosis, they wrote, mom believes that daughter was possessed by demons.
Oh my Lord, have mercy. Way to throw some words in your mouth.
They sure did. So,
Wow.
I'm like, for the record, I'm very organized. I work in data. I do, referrals and data entry all the time. But here I am, like I said, I literally put a thick 3-inch binder together of everything. I sent the diagnoses where my daughter was working with different people, stating that when I go over dads, it makes my pain worse. It makes my stress worse. She would come back from the visits like, I have a boyfriend and a new baby. The baby's about to be 2 now. He's a toddler. And she's like, I hate the baby and I hate mom's boyfriend because they're here. My dad doesn't love me anymore. So it's like pretty complicated. And like I said, I've been trying to navigate the mental health system. The mental health system kind of screwed me up because they're confusing my daughter seeing and hearing things as me seeing and hearing things. I sought out actually an EMDR specialist that I found through Psychology Today. And to my luck, she identified as a former DCF worker. And then she reached out.
She knows all the shady shit they do.
Yeah, so she reached out to my therapist. She denied me services, EMDR trauma therapy services, because I was definitely triggered with all my ex-husband stuff when all of this happened. Because like I said, my daughter literally was taught the abuse techniques that he was using on me. I wasn't sleeping for months. I just needed a little break. And he was denying, he would not take her, and he lied to his family and said, oh, there's protective orders. Nicole is doing stuff to you guys. So one of his aunts that had taken care of my daughter was like, no, I won't take her. Don't call here again. Sweetest Christian woman, but her nephew told her a lie, and that relationship just got severed. So I literally don't have anybody in the area continuing the relationships with his extended family because that's what we have. And he's said so much lies. I've gone through defamation of character. I've gone through a cycle of just havoc with dealing with the schools with him again and again for years. And now I find myself pulled back and he's in the power position. We were supposed to have a phone call with my daughter and he's like, oh, she didn't ask for you. So, well, I know she's not allowed to ask about me or her baby brother. This is our scheduled time. And the court did correct him the other day. Hey, she needs to not be on a recorded line. Your daughter needs to be able to speak with her freely, because he was cutting off the conversations if she would mention the family dog. Can I mention the family dog? So it's just
The fact that the courts are allowing that child to be in a situation to where they are fully aware that she can't even speak to you freely. And are they really that ignorant that they can't put 2 and 2 together and see what's going on? I think that's part of my biggest problem with these courts is that they're either intentionally screwing families or they are so incompetent. It's pathetic. And they have no right even holding the position that they hold. So it's one of the two. It's 2 options. That's it.
Yep.
Either start following the law or go learn something.
Yeah. Yeah. The judge that I have is known to be the fair judge in the area. The lawyers like him. I don't have a lawyer. I don't have somebody to take on my case right now because they're just like, oh, you can't afford us. So there's that. But like I said, literally, I've been just dealing with the trauma of the DCF worker herself, really continuing my ex-husband's smear campaign verbatim, word for word. So everywhere, like I said, like I was tasked with getting records over to DCF. I had provided details of like exactly who were my daughter's providers for everything, which hospital she went to, and they didn't reach out anywhere for 2.5 months. And then they made the decision that, the allegation of neglect and abuse was supported, but it states that there's nothing on my child. My child offered, dinner every night. I'm literally spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on books to uplift her. We're talking about growth mindsets, positivity, brave girls, devotionals, intrusive thought workbooks. Like literally, I know as a mom, I've done everything I can to try and help her. And she couldn't open up to me about what was really going on. She just kept leaving those cryptic messages. And I'm like, please, I begged her therapist. I begged the ICC. Like, my daughter is saying these things to me. I reached out to the ombudsman at DCF. They told me to file a 51A on top of what was the investigation going on me. And it was unsupported. They never looked into dad at all. And so my daughter, I finally got to see her and for one visit through a visitation. And the DCF worker had been reaching out, like I said, to everybody, and everybody was left very overwhelmed, is the word that they're all using. And they were all pretty upset. And the person that was facilitating the visitation backed off because she has children too. And I guess dad had said that our daughter returned to him dysregulated. It was like an 8-hour visit. She was tired and she was literally running the whole time. And she said she had stayed up nearly the whole week because she was so excited to see me and her little brother and my boyfriend. He mentioned that she was dysregulated. I guess the DCF worker stepped in and, called the supervisor, the visit supervisor, and she ended up backing off because they were alleging that my daughter was faking injuries.
Wow. Kid stuff.
So, yeah.
Regardless, I mean, this is just things, and I've heard a lot of things of that nature in general, to where DCF thinks that they can, come in and monitor situations and just nitpick the dumbest little things, to where it's like they have such unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't look at the situation for what it really is. I mean, there's going to be complications. A child is going to be a child regardless.
Well, her dad had told her that she would never see me again. And the whole visit, she was like, oh, I bet you they're glad I'm not there, because she just feels unwanted there. She told me that she spends most of her time in her room crying or reading books. Definitely an avid reader. So she spends a lot of time isolated. And for a period, she wasn't allowed to talk to the neighbors, like I said, because they were historically mom's friends. A friend of mine saw her on the street and said hello to both of them because we were close family friends. And she was like, both of them ignored me. And I called out to her and she ignored me. And she was a little bit hurt. And I'm like, it's, my daughter just says that she's not allowed to talk to people. So like, don't take it personal. You know what I mean? But I've had 2 people reach out to me on that basis of like, I'm saying hi to your daughter and she's not saying hi back. Is everything okay? There's nothing I can do. I just feel like she's definitely being silenced. And like, I'm being silenced because like literally when I have these meetings with DCF on like weekly progress or whatever, or monthly progress, somebody suggested to me like maybe this worker is being paid off, because literally verbatim, she's like an extension of my ex-husband. And like, I find myself in literal hell because of it. Like, cause I'm like, she's using his exact words and they keep repeating, and they're such specific words. Everything that's happening is so specific too. Even the schizophrenia. I had studied schizophrenia for a while, like for a community health resource worker for behavioral health. But also, I think I mentioned to him when I was like 20, oh, I'd be scared to have a kid with schizophrenia. And all of a sudden my kid is saying, oh, I see and hear things. Could be true, but everything that's been going on with her has been so specific. From the time, that I ran into him, we had that same job that we have. He's still a per diem worker there. That same job that we have, like my daughter's health, like mental health and physical health have declined from there. And then like there's me writing emails like, can you please encourage her to eat? She's like declining to eat. I'm sending her with lunches. Then she wants to eat school lunch, but she's not eating anything. I know as a mom, I've literally done everything I could humanly possibly could. Like so many nights I've talked to her to try to uplift her. So many nights, like we've done workbooks. So many nights I sat and I cuddled with her. Like there's so much I know I did until exhaustion because I didn't want her to feel like how I felt. I didn't want her to feel like how I felt. And I'm like just trying to get more money so that I can file the right paperwork so that she doesn't have to deal with that.
Well, the
And I
courts should
can't hold
have
on.
some sort of, I'll look into a few things over there for you because sometimes, a lot of times courts have like if you're low income, you can file something to,
Indigency.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
I can do that now. He's coming after me for child support now, and I'm still trying to like stabilize. And I don't mind, like literally I bought her all her clothes. It is what it is, and I'm fine like supporting her, but like his payback to me is like, haha, I'm gonna make you pay child support. Like when I first left him and I had absolutely nothing, I left with just clothing. Keep the house, whatever. I left with just clothing and a printer. And he's like, she's responsible for paying health insurance and paying me child support, and I'm taking the kid. And the judge was like, why would that be in the child's best interest? 'Cause she's been the stay at home mom. And you
right.
felt safe enough to still maintain that of her, even though I got other jobs. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
it's just
very
been
obviously trying to manipulate the system and take advantage of the system with the sole purpose and intention of trying to hurt you.
but the DCF worker is carrying on the torch. And I don't like, I can't for the life of me. Like, I'm just one of these people that I'm like, more than anything in this moment, I want to figure out why. Like, what is going on with my daughter? All right. Like, why was she in literal psychosis? Because, like, I try to make life as a kid as fun as possible. Literally, she wanted to do cheerleading. She wanted to do a running group for girls. I had her enrolled in all these things until dad was like, oh, I'm not bringing her on Saturdays. Gymnastics, like not only extracurriculars, but I'm literally spending time with her. We do a lot of family activities, like a lot of adventures, because for me, I didn't have those experiences, but like also I'm kind of going through grief and I'm grieving the life, my whole 20s that I sat down playing wife and not going anywhere. I was signed up for an MBA program. I signed up for this and that nursing program. And I did absolutely nothing. Like my life was wasted. I didn't do anything. So my new partner, like we're adventurous. We go to explore castle in New England and go to the beach. We're doing all kinds of family activities. And like now we do it. And like all I can think about is my daughter. And like, why wouldn't she snap out of it? You know what I mean? Like, what was going on that she couldn't snap out of it? And like, she would come home and be like, I'm better off not going than going to my dad's, even though I miss him. Like, I'm better off not going. And I don't trust him because, like, she heard him in the kitchen telling his girlfriend that I used to beat him. I'm just like exhausted in every way. And then, like, court happening. Oh, you can't get a trial for another year and a half at least. Like, broke my heart on this past Friday. And I'm like, DCF, pay attention. Pay attention. No, above anything else, please pay attention. Like, my daughter is saying she's not okay. And so I guess my daughter tried to tell the DCF worker, like, hey, I'm going through some things and I'm still feeling that like head and stomach pain. And she said that the DCF worker rolled her eyes and just walked out.
That's just so hard.
So I'm
Oh,
like, please hear this, please hear this, please hear this. And they're like, well, you brainwashed her. So, we can't trust anything that she says. So effectively, he silenced the both of us. I went to court. I prepared like a very short report, like for the judge. And I'm like, this is a very short thing. This is what I've been doing. And these are what I've been building in the community. I've been working on my physical and my mental health. I have a health coach. I have a therapist. I have all this. I have the health coach has been working on like somatic therapies with me, like breathing exercises to help like kind of the vagus nerve. I've been working with this group. I've been working with that. I've, sought church supports or, whatever. Like I gave him an update. It was supposed to be a review hearing. And like, I guess DCF spoke with him and said, mom doesn't know what she did wrong. That's not what? What?
Lord have mercy.
So the thing is like, I keep finding my voice taken away, taken away, taken away, and then he'll just like throw something in there like a complete lie. So this time it was Nicole's targeting my loved ones. How I have a whole like right now I'm struggling just to like regain my health. I have a 2-year-old boy and he's all over the place. Like literally I have a whole other family. You know what I mean? Like I moved on. I forgot about him. Like literally, I forgot about him until I had to drop my daughter off. You know what I mean?
He's got to find ways to keep that drama going. That's
Yeah,
what
he's
narcissists thrive
definitely
on.
he's definitely done that. And he's like, make sure that all of our communications are email communications. And it's like literally we have not talked on the phone for 4 years now.
Right.
Like, come on. Like I just was like, are you serious? But apparently it's serious. And like sometimes and like I came into it and I'm like, this is totally insane, like cockamamie, like this is a joke, but like I guess it's really not. And they're taking that stuff seriously that he's saying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have literal evidence. And they're like, oh, you sending a barrage of texts and emails asking for communications about what's alleged after 3 months, asking for a team meeting, asking for this and that. And they said that because I'm sending information from like my child's partial hospitalization program and from her different providers, I'm sending this information. The barrage of texts and emails is making me look mentally unstable.
Oh my Lord.
So
Mercy
it's
on my
like,
soul.
I'm educating you guys. I was the sole custodian. My daughter attended this program at this hospital, and they're saying, oh, you're sending too much information. You look unstable. Like, I can't
Wow.
win either way. And like, I've reached out to help for maybe like a GoFundMe. And then, a friend was just like, you know what? You're another Black woman that the system fails. And I'm like, that doesn't help either. You know what I mean? Like, this is like, what? Like, I'm just so thrown off by the different responses because I'm like, I don't know. How do you take something like that seriously? And literally, I have evidence, and nobody is interested in looking at the paperwork. Matter of fact, the court order on June 11th, the judge, they made a judgment saying, oh, we agree with dad. The child should never see the mother again, but we don't have any paperwork.
So how in the hell are they making these very serious claims and statements with zero evidence to back
Zero.
anything? Like there are laws that have to be followed. That's why I
Yeah.
think we need to get you situated to where you have very specifics, like specific, okay, this law is being violated. This law is being violated. This law specifically says this.
Yeah.
That's what we need to get you into. So I have a couple of different options. Statutefinder.org. Raphael is an advocate that I've had on my show as well. If you want to go check out that episode, he does have a lot of really great instructional videos on his website, but you can go to this website and it's all completely 100% free. You type in your story into his AI bot, be as descriptive as you can, make note of, different evidence that you have, specific stories, specific charges, specific accusations, whatever you can, get as detailed as possible as you can in that. I would suggest writing it up in a document first and then copy and pasting. So that way, if something happens where the internet goes out or something, you don't have to type it all back up again. And it's always good to have that as well. Sometimes telling our story gets so overwhelmingly repetitive and frustrating. So just even to have that, just to have it is going to be beneficial anyways. So
listen, I've put this like evidence binder together. And I have like a summary of my child situation, but like it's a couple pages, and then like a table of contents with a chronology, because the last lawyer I said, well, she gave me that advice to do all of that. And I've done all this legwork. Of course, nobody wants to hear it. I just asked for a team meeting today with DCF. They've denied my last request. They're denying pretty much everything. And I think I realized where I made a mistake. I said, because the new worker after the initial investigator came in and she was completely unaware of all my daughter's mental health. And I said, how? Because that's the basis of why we're here. And so I let her know I'd be sending her information. And then from there, like things just kind of fell apart with this particular DCF worker. The mistake I made was writing an email and saying, you guys are dropping the ball. Literally, I gave you all of these releases of information, and all of her providers are, and I gave you, I gave the contact information of the DCF worker and also her dad, because she had appointments already set up for a neuropsych to assess if she was on the spectrum and like to assess what was going on with her.
Right.
And they ignored all of it. And so I said, you guys, like my daughter, before I even had contact with her 2.5 months later, before I even had contact with her, I'm like, hey, she's been going through quite a bit. Like, you can't just cut her off. I said, you guys dropped the ball. And I think I've been dealing with retaliation ever since.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, but that's super illegal. You know what I mean? We the people have to be able to have the right and the ability that when somebody that it is their job to do their job
Yeah.
and help
Yeah.
and they're not, they absolutely need to be called out and they absolutely need to be held accountable for what
Yeah.
they are or are not doing. So a lot of times it's just them, not doing enough or anything to help a situation. So for them to retaliate against you because you spoke the truth is unacceptable on so many different levels.
Yeah. And then so the judge orders me to like get in that information a DCF. Well, I go to my child's providers and they said, oh, the DCF worker called us and said, don't send in the documentation, that they have everything that they need. And I got that from 2 providers.
Would they be willing to write statements as to such? Or did you by chance record the conversation?
I didn't. I caught them, my daughter's school, like right before the end of school. It was like they had 2 days before the end of school. And they were ignoring my requests that I sent in the email communication. And then I placed one call to the office, and then they got the school counselor to get back to me. And she said, well, the worker says that they're all set, that they don't want paperwork. But
Wow.
she sent me a disciplinary report for my daughter, which is not at all what I requested. And they didn't even include the meetings that I went to the school to talk about specific topics, because the principal was making comments that were creating difficulty in my home. So, it's been quite a road. It's been exhausting. And I definitely hear what you're saying. I think Statute Finder will be very helpful, because the bottom line is I'm not well versed in this enough. So I didn't know that, first off, with the situation with the people that were facilitating the supervised visits, had 2. I didn't know that, they didn't have to report out to DCF. DCF was because DCF
I mean,
didn't even.
isn't that kind of their purpose?
Well, the thing is, they were supposed to report to the probate court. And so DCF told the probate court that they felt, even though they had no evidence, no anything, they felt mother shouldn't see the child.
That's
Meanwhile, my other child is still in my home. Granted, like, it's just a whole mess that doesn't make sense. And I know that I'm being taken advantage of. And I know that there's stuff that I don't know to protect myself against.
right. So I was curious what Massachusetts recording laws were. I promise I was listening to you. I was
Yeah.
looking something up for you. So Massachusetts is a 2-person consent state, which sucks. I'm in Ohio, so there only has to be one knowing consenting party. I record everything, every meeting, every appointment, everything. I record it because I've had that problem too, to where they don't, well, you can, you just have to let them know is the only thing. So personally, I would start doing that every time you go to any kind of meeting or anything, just so everybody is aware. I'm recording this, whatever the case may be. That might kind of help. Now, see, it's hit and miss. Sometimes it's going to go one of 2 ways. They're going to get pissed off and they're going to retaliate against you, or they're going to get pissed off and say, oh, fuck, I guess I better watch my ass and start, following the law and doing what I'm supposed to, because there's going to be accountability. So it can go either way. It's, who knows which way it'll go. I think in my case, I think me being more vocal about it saved my ass. But, I know that you've said that you've already had retaliation that you've dealt with just by speaking up. So,
Yeah.
but food for thought, anyways, if it's something that you maybe want to consider doing, cube recording. There's an app that I use on my phone, and it automatically starts recording as soon as I answer the phone. So if you need, some advice on some different apps or stuff, if that is a route that you would like to move forward with, just let me know and I can throw out some ideas for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I would try domestic violence statute finder. And then we also have someone else that we just recently started working with, which I still have to go through my training and whatnot, but it's a really mind-blowing platform that's going to be a game changer for advocates. But it's new and a
Yeah.
lot of us haven't been trained yet. So let me reach out to a couple of the advocates that I work with that are trained on that, and
Okay.
I'll get them connected with you. It's like the statutefinder.org, like on steroids. Like
Mhm.
it's to the point where, we can upload information, documents, court, drafts, or I can't find my words, but you know what I mean. You can upload any information, any documentation, evidence, things that you have, and this AI will kind of scan through everything
Mhm.
and spit back out, okay, well, they did this illegal, they did that illegal. You can do this to combat that. You could do this to combat that. So, but
Oh,
again, like it's still new. It's on my short list of things to
yeah.
learn. And I'm really excited to learn that and familiarize myself with that to be able to help people better. But as much
Okay.
as I would love to, I don't have that ability quite yet, but I know those who do. So
Yeah.
have them
Yeah.
get a hold of you and see if maybe that's something that they can, work with you on
Yeah.
to try to get you some better, more effective help.
Anything at this point, because like I find myself a little bit blindsided because literally I work a full-time job. When I come home, I'm with my toddler and my partner, and like, we're doing some family stuff. I'm doing all this kind of logistical stuff and putting paperwork together at night, like all night long. There's only so much I can do. I need a little support here and there. And I really want to know, there's so much I want to know. And I'm like, how do people navigate out of these situations? Like, I'm seeing these horror stories everywhere. Like, what can I do to protect myself? What can I do to protect my daughter? And like, I've reached out to the ombudsman of, DCF several times. I reached out to another agency above, above them. Like, I followed all of their advice, and like, nope, we won't change your DCF worker. Nope, we won't grant you a team meeting to clarify what's been alleged after 3 months. Nope. I keep getting no's, 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 no's every day.
So there's gotta be some things that, as long as they're filed properly. I know that's another
Yeah.
big problem with, anytime you want to file anything in court, they are so overly particular with everything being worded and done so perfectly that it makes it really hard for somebody who has no choice but to represent themselves.
Yep.
So hopefully the statute finder will be able to help with that. And then I can hopefully get somebody else on that can help with those particulars, all those detail oriented things that have to be done. There has to be several different things that you can file to require that of them. Like that's just, like there are laws, there are processes,
Yeah.
and the fact that they just completely eliminate due process like it's cool, like
Yeah.
they are behaving in an illegal manner. Like
Yeah.
that is not right. And it is not only destroying you, it's destroying an innocent child who it's their job to protect.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the most scary part because it's like literally my two children are like all I have left. It's one thing if my voice hasn't been heard, but like I can't. I'm at the point where like my daughter has taught me not to be that docile person. Like she was feisty from the time that she was born. She taught me to like stand up for myself in certain ways, and like I just can't. There's some days that I'm like I cannot Like, I just got out of this 20 years dealing with this man. There's some days that I'm like, fine, like I'm gonna leave the state. I'm gonna start over and like live the life that I know I need to do to like build a stable life, bring my son with me, try to get my daughter back. And then, should I let it go? Should I let her be there? But then she's also like reaching out to me and I hear it in her voice. And I'm like, I can't give up on her. I can't give up on her. And like, I love my children a lot. They're all I have. And like I said, this is the only way that I could have been broken. If it's just me, I would have been long gone. You know what I mean? You never would have found me again. I'd be on the other side of the country. I might be on the other side of the world. But it's my kids that tether me to this particular area. And I look over my shoulder all the time for either my ex-husband or my ex-mother-in-law. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. And especially like it eats me up inside. If just like thinking about the times I saw my daughter in psychosis, seeing her struggling in the way that she was, and then like not speaking up on it. And it's like, baby girl, like always tell the truth, always like, and make sure not to lie on people ever. Baby girl, like, I've had so many talks with her, like safety talks and this and that. And it's like, what's going on? And what are you saying that I'm missing? Why won't you
It
talk
makes
to
you
me?
feel so helpless as a mother. You could
Yeah.
just can feel so helpless and hopeless. It's hard. It's not easy to get through, but I think you need to hear and you need to know that you're doing a great job and what you're feeling is completely normal.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not be okay. I mean, they are literally re-victimizing you. It's
Yeah.
going to take a toll. It's going to affect you. And they are no different than those narcissistic douchebags that we have to deal with. I mean, it
Yeah.
just gets a point where you have to make yourself not let them get in your head because that's
Yeah.
exactly what they're trying to do is get in your head. They
Yeah.
have a narrative that works well for them and what
Yep.
they're prepared and ready to try to enforce or to go through the motions. And unfortunately, a lot of court systems do a lot of really just fucked up stuff to try to create and force that narrative to play out.
I don't think that over 3 court sessions, I don't think that DCF has actually given the report. There's so many holes in that report. Like, it's just ridiculous, like contradiction. My child is saying one thing and then it's just dad has a whole different narrative. Like, it's just insane. And I'm like, there's no way until he is not a joke anymore and you can't get a trial until the end of 2025.
Right. Yeah. See, and that's another thing as well. That violates your rights as well because you are entitled to a speedy trial. So the fact that they're intentionally telling you it's going to take that long, that's crazy. That alone is ridiculous, much less with all the added stuff that's involved in all of this. But yeah, I think first and foremost is we need to accomplish and tackle that is get a hold of whatever their paperwork is. There's got to be something that you can file in the court that's going to require them to give it. And you very well may be right. That report may just make everything fall apart. And that's why they haven't submitted it yet. So maybe it's something to where if we can put them in a position to where they have to submit it, and then you can go in and file motions for, oh, well, this and this and this is inaccurate and this doesn't follow the law and that doesn't follow the law. So I want to file a motion to dismiss. It very well could be something along those lines too.
So I put in also a DCF fair trial hearing. So I have a probate situation with my ex-husband having custody of my daughter because technically he has the custody. He bypassed that very next day. He declined wanting to take our daughter, and then he went straight to the court to get custody. And I like I said, I know his friends in DCF had like coached him through that, like because he doesn't want any control over him and the parenting. And like right now, she's on like a wait list. Literally, we work for an elder agency, and he has her in a psych referral or like a therapist referral through an agency that everybody in the area knows won't be able to see her for like another 6 months to a year. And she's like, Mommy, I don't have anybody to talk to. Like, Mommy, this and that. And I called that out, in a recent email to them too. Like, this is a referral that every agency in the area knows that they are so inundated. They do not have the staffing right now to accommodate therapy. There's tons of other places to go.
I tell you, it takes a real piece of shit to intentionally sabotage your child's healing process. I mean, the fact alone that he has not made it his number one priority to make sure that her mental health is on point is
because it was a game to
horrifying
him.
and disgusting. And that alone should get that kid out of there. That's just disgusting.
Well, I would write to him and he would be like, that's a you problem. That's his favorite thing to say to me during a marriage. Oh, it's a you problem. She only goes through that over there. She doesn't have that anywhere else. Nobody else saw it. I'm her safe place. And then he convinced everybody in DCF, oh, nobody saw it. And I'm like, literally, I have a whole other partner in my home. He was here with me.
Right.
Like, he was here. Why don't you ask him? They refuse. Like, they won't ask him. They keep trying to get him to tell them that I'm schizophrenic and all these things that they're making up. That's not at all what I'm dealing with.
Wow.
I'm only dealing with PTSD as of late because this whole situation has completely crashed my whole life down. Literally, I've been defamed so much in the area. I've been working as somebody to rebuild, like, my name and, like, get my children active in the community. Literally, I feel like I can't go anywhere. Like, I'm trying to get, a higher paying job with a better agency. I can't do that because now we're involved. Like, I've been trying to get state jobs. And here we are, like, in a big mess. Like, I just feel like I started to feel a little bit hopeless because it's like everywhere that I've built a reputation for 2 years now, showing up constantly for my kid, showing up at all of her school events. And, like, now the whole narrative has changed. And everybody's so confused. And then they're like, wait, yeah, I got suspicious too. And like, wait, what? You're the one who told me, like, who was giving me the advice to, like, get the neuropsych done and make sure that, like, we find out what's really going on with her so that we can better treat her. And then they were like, oh, maybe she was brainwashing her. Like, what? It's required me so much time at a work. My new job, like, it's destabilizing me. And I know that, like, here I am, now I have to pay for supervised visitations. I have to pay $75 per hour for 8 visits is what was ruled on this past Friday. That's $600 that, like, I kind of don't have, even though I just got a pay raise. I already know the cycle that it's going to be. Like, it's literally costing me so much time out of work. And here I am, like I said, just trying to stabilize. And, like, I haven't been able to because it's like, boom, we have so many meetings for my daughter for her mental health. It's a situation that's very easily, can destabilize me as a single mom.
Right. Well, I mean, the fact that court systems nationwide are charging parents extravagant amounts of money to be able to see their children, fuck right off. Like, fuck right off. I mean, that is disgusting. And every single court that does that should have felony charges filed against them. I mean, you can't do that. You cannot
I'm getting it.
do that. Like, the way that they are handling situations, like, it just leaves me absolutely dumbfounded and baffled as, like, how is this even an issue? And I'm just, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, hearing story after story, situations, similar to yours. How do they get away with it? And, it's going to take us all coming together and using our voice to force change, because this something has to give. They are literally destroying so many families and so many children. It's sickening, and we have to start doing something about it.
I would love to participate. I'm like, I want to pull myself through. I want to, I've been looking at, different communities that, are housing people in these situations, or, I've been looking at, like, raising money, for myself and other mothers who are, like, needing the litigation, and, like, literally, you can't afford this. And it's wild too. In my area, DV, typically the women are coming out of these situations with nothing. And it's like,
the abusers intentionally set
$3.50 an
them up
hour.
that way.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's just, like, straight up, like, oh, like, the lawyer I was working with, I raised $2,500. I had her for 7 hours, and then DCF knew I had representation that day, limited representation, and then they took the entire day to like call back. So we were there from like 8 all the way till 4, waiting for DCF to answer, and then like boom, my representation was gone. Like I wanted to ask legal advice or some sort of way to navigate my situation. Is like boom, $2,500 went like that. So I don't feel protected. Like I don't make a lot of money.
Well, family courts in general, it's all a money scheme. They intentionally go out of their way to just bleed you dry.
Yep. And that's where I'm at. And I'm like, I can't. Like, do I walk away? And then I just like, I can't leave her in that situation where I'm hearing in her voice, like, mommy, like they checked my pockets and it freaked me out. And mommy, they're saying I'm manipulative now. And like, mommy, this and that. And like, nobody listens to me. No, like, I don't have anybody to talk to. I'm isolated. Like, mommy. And like, she's like trying to whisper. And then he hangs up the phone on me. And like,
Oh my
I
God.
hear it in her voice, and like there's nothing I can do, and like I had done everything like I could, but literally I couldn't do anymore. And like I don't know what else, like who else helps, and like who they say helps is not at all helping. I'm like, look into this. Dad will seem perfect. Dad will seem like he is, he talks a good talk. He's excellent at what he does.
Well, I mean, and that's your first sign that you're dealing with a psychopath or narcissist.
Yeah. The home is beautiful. I set up that home. That home is beautiful. It's perfect. It'll look wonderful. But please read between the lines. And that's what I told everybody at first. Please read between the lines, because my child is saying this. And she keeps telling you guys this, and you guys are ignoring it. And they're still ignoring. They're like, oh no, she's fine. Wait, that's what Dad said. But I know he won't let her talk to anybody. I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. Therapy was forbidden. Having any witnesses to your situation was forbidden. And that came actually from his mother. Like his mother, he used to get beaten 8 times a day, but he didn't grow up in this country. He's beaten 8 times a day. He saw people being killed next to him. He has traumas. He was raped by a caregiver, he states, as a child, that made him have sex with other children and with her. There's history. And what he's good at is a trauma bond. And his current girlfriend works in law right now, too. So, he's been feeding her information, and she's thinking like, this is the good guy. And
she'll learn. She'll figure it out soon.
Yeah. She's a younger lady, and like she's been talking to my daughter about me. Oh, your mom's an inconsistent parent, but meanwhile, I'm the only parent with custody. I'm the only one, doing stuff with her. You guys haven't taken her on vacation. You guys haven't done anything. You guys haven't even picked her up for school vacation. You haven't showed up at school events. Nothing. So the therapist even tried to bring him in. He refused. So it's been really just like, oh my gosh, like, how are you guys not seeing it? But like, if you call it out, you become the crazy person. And that's exactly what they try to make me be.
Well, let's try to get a team behind you, calling them all out, and see if maybe that helps them change their tune a little bit. Sometimes that's all it takes as well, is just for these courts to be aware that there are other eyes that are observing and paying attention and won't let shit fly. So let me work on a few things on my end. I'll put out some feelers. I'll work on getting this edited ASAP so that we can get it out this Friday. Have it all edited and ready to go to launch on Friday. And I just got set up on like 10 different platforms too, because as of right now, I'm only on YouTube. Well, now I'm on Amazon, Apple, iHeartRadio, you name it, I'm on it. So hopefully that'll help, bring some more awareness to your story, get it out there, and maybe somebody will hear that and be able to help as well. But check out that website
for information. Like, I'm just like, what the hell do I do? Because literally there's no help around here. Like, and we are known to be like an excellent state for like resources and help. And it's really not what I thought it was at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And so here I am in this field, and I'm like, I really don't believe in this. because and like, in most agencies is like my agency, I had to be out and like I'm a month and a half behind in being able to call people for, setting up stuff. And then it's like people are so overworked. Nobody wants to answer the phones overall. Like I'm just not getting through. And then I reached out to the local community aid. They do something called the Family Preservation Project, but they can only assist with situations where your children are not in DCF custody, but DCF is involved. It's a very, particular situation. They can't get involved in probate cases between two parents.
Which are the most cases that need the most help.
Right.
Like,
But for 3 months, the first thing I did was contact them. And for 3 months, they said, "Oh, we literally don't have any resources for family court at all. For like low income, we don't have any staff. There's just nothing to offer." And I've been calling agency after agency after agency, trying to figure out how to get my daughter an advocate. And I tried to get like a court appointed lawyer because, my ex-husband's accusing me of stuff. And like, I had a friend and she's like, "Oh, I got a court appointed lawyer." I can't. They're like, "No, you can't. No, 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 no." And I'm getting no's left and right. And I'm like, what do I do? I'm drowning. So like, I don't know. This is just kind of desperation. And that's what prompted me reaching out to you because I'm like, I'm missing a lot of information. I don't even know where to turn. I'm thinking like, I put this whole thing together. I put reports together. I try to make it easy for them to, get the information.
I want to make sure you realize it's not you. Okay.
Yeah.
You are doing what you're supposed to. You are taking all of the right steps. Unfortunately, we can't force those powers that be to pay attention and listen and to do the right thing, unfortunately. So we're stuck just doing what we can do. And just sometimes it's just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks,
Yeah.
So
What pissed me off though is like literally, I have like friends that are just like, "Oh, well, that comment, it just like rubs me the wrong way. Like, you're another Black woman, the system fails. But if it fails me, it fails my daughter. One day she'll grow up and she'll be a woman and just anybody could take her voice away."
right. So what you're supposed to
That's the
just be
part that
okay with
did.
it because, oh, it's run of the mill. That's just how it kind of works. So, oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't, like, that is probably what bothers my spirit the most because I will be damned that I went through all of this just so my daughter can feel this way and can go through this. Like, every day is that struggle. Like, are you willing to go through the torment of dealing with this person again? Or are you gonna let her just go down the river and like she's in a far worse place than I ever was at 9 years old? She's literally feeling like how I felt and like she doesn't understand it because I can only explain it as a woman coming out of it and she's 9 years old.
Right.
And I don't know how to explain it to her. I couldn't reach her. I couldn't reach her because she was just like confused. "Mommy, I'm so confused. Take the pain away." I took her for MRIs. I took her for everything I could. And like literally, I don't know what to
Well,
do.
she's got to get out of that negative influenced situation. I mean, just going through a divorce alone is
Yeah.
traumatic for a child. But then if, you have an unsafe parent trying to mess with their mind, like
Yeah.
that's some really dangerous territory he's messing with over
Well,
there.
to the point that like all of a sudden, like she'll be asked if she wants pasta for dinner from my son's father because he started to have to like cook more to accommodate us going to appointments, and literally she would fly off the handle. Nothing was acceptable from him. I don't know. There's like different dynamics too because now DCF like put at the top of report. He has a 20-year-old daughter. They put a situation between the daughter and his ex from like 15 years ago at the top of my report with people I
What the
don't
hell
even
does
know.
that have anything to do with anything?
They put that he had a 51A for sexual abuse, but it was thrown out because he didn't even have access to the child for a long time. And the child mentioned that, "Oh, my maternal grandmother told me to say this," and it was thrown out. And then they put that at the top, putting the focus on him. I haven't left them alone. Like, that's just a general, because in general, like I said, I have care for my daughter and I haven't left my partner and like my daughter alone. So, I've been trying to figure out what has been going on. What is the truth? Like I said, they put that sexual allegation of sexual abuse, the 51A, on my son's father, up the top. And then they put Miss Cordero, like another woman's name and her history of, I guess she took too many pills and overdose, and that's at the very top of my DCF report.
That's
Not the narrative.
crazy. I had nothing
Yeah,
to do with you. Like
right.
absolutely nothing.
Right. So, like me working in background checks, if something is, you're not convicted of it, you have to take it off your record for 7 years. But according to DCF, no. So they put that at the top of my DCF record. And I just, with the fair trial hearing, they sent me another copy of my record. And I'm like, who changed this record? Because this is like significantly different than the first one that I received. Granted, the first one I received was like redacted, but
Still.
now it's funky. Now it's like they made it more cohesive to a certain narrative, and like it's not the narrative that's
Well,
even anywhere near true.
well,
And then
that's
they put
okay.
like
You may
somebody
now
else's
have
information at all.
Well, you might now have the evidence that you need to prove false reporting. That's illegal too.
Yep.
And in case some of you court systems and CPS workers out there aren't aware, that's illegal to do. Saying
Yeah.
it. So, yeah, we need to get somebody to look into the particulars with everything. And we got to try to figure out what kind of motions you can file to get down to the bottom of this. Because I have a sneaky suspicion that part of the reason why they're going about doing it is because it's being done illegally and they're fully aware it's being done illegally. And I would be willing to bet that they are betting on you not knowing your rights, you not moving forward the way that needs to be done. And they're
Yep.
thinking, oh, well, we can just hold off and string her along. And then by the time she realizes anything is going on, it's going to be done.
Yep.
So let's throw a monkey wrench in that shithole plan and try to figure out something to where you're better prepared and know what's what and what your rights are and how to get you about that. So you work on that website that I referred you
Okay.
to,
Yeah.
and then I will work on getting in contact with some of the advocates that I work with. I'm going to reach out to Kay Dawn Stone, and
Okay.
she does a lot of work with this AI system and such that I was speaking of.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so hopefully she's got stuff like she has been going through the motions with training and such. So I'll have to touch base with her to see where she's at within that training. But hopefully she's got enough, training under her belt to where she can, pop you into her system and see what kind of help we can do for you. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Thank
we can
you.
do somewhere. Yeah, I'm so sorry you're going through this.
Well, yeah, but like I know I'm not the only one, and literally I read like there's a girl that's going through a serious domestic violence situation that I've been like randomly connected with. Like she might lose her finger. Her ex like was trying to bite her finger off. She had a restraining order, and she's like being left alone, and I'm literally using my strength to encourage her not to give up, because she was supposed to be reunited with her children, and then she was attacked by her husband, and all of it just kind of went away, and she just became hopeless. And all the stuff that I'm saying to her to encourage her, I needed to hear myself. I'm telling her, like, don't, like, not to give up, don't, and I'm like, all right, let's strategize. But I'm like, shit, we really don't know. Like, we both don't know what to do. You know what?
Well, the system is set up that way as well. Like it's set up to intentionally make things difficult. They
Yeah.
know full damn well that the vast majority of people that try to tackle it are going to fail.
Well, like, what sticks with me too is like the aspect of human trafficking and public health. My background, I used to sell public health pamphlets and like work with different governments. And like Mississippi had influx of, human trafficking issues, and they wanted to make a, state awareness about it. And then Houston, like you just drive around, you see a billboard about like trafficking. And I'm thinking about all those children that were lost during the Trump days with the kids in the cage. I'm thinking about all these different situations all the time. And these are, situations that I'm selling pamphlets to somebody to be aware of. And like, it's sickening. It's sickening. And like, what happens after that? There was just a human trafficking home that was, busted like a months ago in a nearby area. And what happens thereafter? Because
There's nowhere. The
literally,
United States does not have anywhere to house or take care of anybody that they rescue from traumatic circumstances like that.
right. And so I had been working on a side project for a community green space in Springfield, Mass. And we happened to be working with like local indigenous population and a woman named Two Feathers. She had been doing a lot of advocacy around finding Native women in particular in Massachusetts. And so like there are some small pockets just trying to do stuff grassroots. So when I left my ex-husband, like I happened to, be doing research. I was trying to do a certificate to get back in the work field. And I met my best friend. And she was doing some pretty much on the street domestic violence work for the people that are not being met by domestic violence agencies. So she was actually sometimes housing women that were in very dangerous situations. And then I have coworkers like beat until, an inch of their life. Their face is completely smashed in and like they sought help through the local agency and were denied. So like there's situations where people have like been beaten to a pulp within inches of their life. And so I can be grateful that right now I've had somebody follow me, which I've been documenting. But at least there's not that aspect. I don't know what's going on with my daughter. I can't speak to her. She won't, like she's not able to speak freely. But like there's a lot of the physical stuff going on and there's a lot of layers to everything that I'm seeing around because I used to be a part of public health groups, see what was it, GPT, what's happening on the ground, where there are different alerts. And that prompted me to leave Houston, Texas when I lived there very briefly.
Oh yeah,
But
that's a hot spot for trafficking.
absolutely. Absolutely. So there's a lot in the undercurrent and I know I'm at like a top surface. And if I can't find help at this top surface and like I'm accused of brainwashing somebody, I'm like, I can't even get you guys to listen to me. Like, how can you? Like, are you kidding me? But there are situations that are going down so much deeper. And like,
Absolutely.
I'm like, I can't even get a trauma-informed therapist for a coercive control relationship.
Yeah.
What is happening for the people that are really, really disturbed? And there's like a whole industry. There's a whole industry around it. But
Oh,
what
absolutely.
I'm just amazed. I'm like, even if I want to right now, where would I go to find appropriate mental health for the psychological programming that my daughter's going through right now?
Yes. Yes. Our entire system just needs a very serious overhaul to where, I mean, they need to, have the programs available and they need to make sure that there is accountability within every single program
Yep.
because otherwise people drop the ball. They
Yep.
get involved with being shady and scandalous and
Yeah.
it ends up just being another corrupt entity. And we have to rein that in. Like there is
Yeah.
no if, ands, or buts about it. It is literally it's destroying our economy. It's destroying our communities. It's destroying innocent victims. I mean,
Yeah.
there are so many different aspects to this that it all plays hand in hand. And same with like it's all connected. Like
Yeah.
with domestic violence, trafficking, CPS, family courts, it's all connected. And
So there really isn't any accountability for like the CPS, any of that, because I've been researching it and it's like, oh, they're pretty much immune to everything, right?
yeah,
How?
yeah. Because there's no accountability unless you force it. I mean, there are ways that you can, roundabout go about enforcing it, but it takes a long time. And
Yeah.
even then, and it involves court process. So you got filing fees, you got
Yeah.
attorney
Yeah.
fees, I mean, they specifically intentionally set us up for failure. And with little to no recursive actions that make sense or that are within grasp in our realities. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Like your average everyday mom that was, battered and abused, got safe, had a nightmare of a family court, transition that they have to go through. They're not going to be able to afford this and that and everything else. I mean,
Right.
it's not possible. It's not logical. And so for our family courts to continue on knowing the information that they know,
Yeah.
having all of the data, all of the statistics, and then for them to turn around and still intentionally do things the way that they are, it's RICO. They all
Yeah.
belong in prison for RICO violations, and that's all there is to it. But, it's not easy to stand up and fight the system and try to
Yeah.
create change, but
I
I'm
don't know
doing
why
it and
I'm
I ain't going to
attracted to
stop
it
anytime
too.
soon.
I don't know why I'm attracted to it too. Actually, I've been avoiding this stuff. I've been avoiding everything my whole life. And here I am. And then I find there's people all around me. Like lately, I've been helping people out of domestic violence situations or situations where their kids are taken away. I thought I was the furthest from that. And then boom,
It can
here I
happen to
am. And then
anyone.
I'm like, the things that I was suggesting to other people is like, they don't really exist.
Yeah. And you learn the hard way. It's
Yeah.
like, you're grown or you're raised up to, believe that for the most part, the world is a just world. And we have all of these systems and all of these organizations put into place specifically to help people. So when it comes to the point where you need that and it is just an epic failure, your whole world crashes around you. Like everything that we were taught is a lie. And there is nothing to do about it. There's, I won't say that there's next to nothing to do unless you're willing to take on a very serious, complicated battle.
Yeah. And then there's you out here.
And then there's me, this loudmouth bitch that just don't care. Yeah,
Well,
we're trying. I'm hoping we really want to get into a position to where we could start doing some petitions soon. My only holdup is I just started this organization within the last year, so I've got to, build up my fan base and get everything out there to where I'm actually being heard and have all the different platforms and such. And I'm about there. So I've got a pretty decent following that's growing more every day. So here, as soon as I increase that a little bit more, we're going to start with a bunch of petitions that will hopefully go nationwide. And I'm not even going to screw around with these stupid ass individual states, because most of them are a bunch of idiots that don't know what the hell they're doing. And these problems that we're having, they are on a mass scale on a federal level. So we have to have federal regulations and federal involvement across the board to keep all these ignorant ass states in check, so they're not destroying all of these innocent families anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, there has to be, I know this stuff with the trafficking is so hush hush, but it's real. Like, it's real stuff. There's just so many missing people. And like, I hear about it just like little whispers here and there. What is there to do? We prosecute for murders. This is, in a sense, the loss of people's lives. Like,
absolutely.
And the trauma impacts people so deeply. And then they have all this stuff, adverse childhood experiences and child abuse prevention. And I'm like, really? What are they doing with that?
Exactly. Yeah, the government pays for all of these statistics to be written up and all of these studies to be done. And you have some of the top medical and psychological experts in the world that are coming back with these studies that the government requests, that the government pays for. And then they come back and say, okay, this and this and this is a problem. This and this and this is how you should address that. And this and this and this would at least help, blah, blah, blah. And do they do any of those things? Hell no, they don't. They don't do a damn thing. And it's like, what is the point? You have to start listening to your own damn experts that you're paying, because they serve a purpose.
And it's been here for a really long
purposeful.
time, because I used to work for Channing Beat, the company that made all those pamphlets. For a while, they had those like little stick figure pamphlets educating people on stuff. And, they had a big partnership with child abuse prevention. And like, so much statistics went into it, so much this and that, adverse childhood experiences, this, that, and there's so much around it. And it's like, trickle, trickle, trickle off.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Cool.
There isn't.
Hey, thanks for this information. We're just going to throw it over here in our burn pile now.
Yeah. So a part of me has wondered what the fuck is going on?
It's intentional. I mean, once you really start diving into it and learning about what's happening and doing the research and doing the investigations. Like, I can't even tell you, I mean, I'm an advocate. So obviously I speak with dozens and dozens and dozens of other advocates. And I have yet to find one single advocate that doesn't say the same thing. Trafficking is involved on a government level. And, all of this is intentional. And there's just so many things that is just common knowledge in the
Yeah.
advocacy world that just leaves you to sit there and just be like, how is this possible? How are there this many sick, twisted people that are involved in our positions of power to where they think that this is okay?
And solutions. There's no one way, I'm guessing, in your work so far. There's the awareness aspect, and I think there definitely has to be more awareness. But yeah, it's a lot. And thank you for your work. Let me know how I can, continue to support you. I thank you for the information you're sharing, because I'm just like so overwhelmed and I'm crying a lot. I'm exhausted. I'm trying to keep my health up. I'm trying to like do everything. And yeah. This is helpful. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. Well, keep your chin up, and we're fighting for you. And I'll see what I can do about rallying some troops to get behind you and see what we can do to help push you forward and hopefully get some more effective help.
Yeah, I need it, and I can't afford it, as they say.
We don't charge anything, so no worries there anyways with that aspect. But we'll see what we can do, and I will keep you posted as soon as I hear anything. I'll put some feelers out as soon as I get off of here, and I'll start editing this evening so that way I can have everything ready to go to get this pushed out on Friday.
All right. Thank you.
You are so very welcome. Have a blessed day. And
you too.
I know it's hard to have hope, but don't let that hope go. We're fighting for you.
Yeah. I know I'm in a little pickle, but like I also am like, don't like suck it in. But yeah, anyway, thank you.
There we go. You're so very welcome. Have a blessed day. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.